Hi, I'm Vanessa from speakenglishwithvanessa.com and welcome to the sample vocabulary video for the course The Fearless Fluency Club. In this video, you're going to learn vocabulary words that were used in the sample conversation lesson between my sister and I. In this video, you'll see me with my husband Dan giving examples for each word, and then you're going to see a clip from that conversation video. So you're going to be able to hear our explanations and see it in real life. If you'd like to get lesson sets like this every month, you can join the Fearless Fluency Club right up here or in the description below. Let's get started. Welcome to the vocabulary video for the lesson set about travel and reverse culture shock. As you can tell, I've got my husband Dan here with me.
Hi everyone.
So he's here to help give you another perspective and to also just give some more experience to each word. So that way you're not just hearing my stories, you're also hearing his stories. And I think it's good to hear a male and female voice.
Yes.
That way there's some balance and just two different people is going to be better. So this is going to be a conversation vocabulary explanation video based on the vocabulary from the conversation I had with my sister, Charisse. So if you haven't seen this conversation with my sister, you can watch it first, or you can watch this video and get used to the vocabulary and then watch that video. It's your choice. Are you ready to get started?
Ready.
All right. The first word we're going to talk about is odd job. An odd job's kind of like a part-time job, a small job. Do you have any examples of what might be an odd job?
Yeah, when I think of odd job, I think of something small that you would do maybe in high school. This is what I kind of think about. So one of my odd jobs in the past would have been mowing lawns. So doing yard work for neighbors, this kind of thing. But it could even be babysitting, or it could even be working for a company part-time and then working at another company part-time as well. So
Sure, something not too serious. Maybe you do it for a couple days.
Right.
And yeah, usually younger people do those kind of jobs.
Yeah, I would say younger people. It's a young thing.
It's a young thing. Great. Well, let's watch the clip in the conversation to see what Charisse says about this word. She's going to use it in her sentence. So watch carefully and listen to what she's saying. You can repeat the clip and listen for what she says. And I'm going to be doing this for each vocabulary word that we talk about. So you're going to hear our explanation and then you're going to see a clip from the conversation video. So let's watch the first one about odd jobs.
In Argentina, I had multiple jobs actually. First I worked at a volunteer organization, then I taught English, and then every odd job. And then I moved directly to South Korea.
The second word we're going to talk about is reverse culture shock. Reverse culture shock is kind of when you feel weird going back to your home culture after having lived abroad for usually a couple months or a year, kind of a long time, not really for vacation. So have you ever experienced reverse culture shock?
Yes, for sure I have, because we lived in South Korea for 3 years. Every time we went home, it always felt a little strange. And I think it's because you have a new perspective on life. So now you're comparing everything from the other culture to your home culture. And is it even your home culture anymore?
We don't even know.
Right. So it's just a very weird feeling to come back. Not for everybody, but I think if you live in a place, it's strange and you get reverse culture shock.
Excellent. Let's watch the clip to see how we used this in the conversation. But how would you describe reverse culture shock?
Reverse culture shock is when you go from the country you've been living in, a foreign country, let's say South Korea, you come back to your home country, and then all of a sudden everything feels foreign, as if you're returning to a foreign country, not your home country.
Yeah. The third expression we're going to talk about is to a certain extent, or to an extent, to an extent. And this means to a limit, So you might say, I like fruit, but only to a certain extent. I couldn't have it every day, all the time. And what do you think?
I think this expression is kind of like a little bit, but more than a little bit.
Okay.
So if you said, do you like apples? And I said, to a certain extent, it would just be maybe a more formal way to say a little bit. So that's how I think of it.
That's a good way of explaining it. So you could substitute this instead of saying, do you like to do something a little bit? You could say, oh, to a certain extent. Excellent. Let's watch the clip where we used that in the conversation.
Like maybe culture shock. I don't know, have you ever felt culture shock, like regular culture shock when you moved to Argentina or France or Korea? Did you feel like, this is a new culture?
I definitely did to an extent.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't... because you're preparing for it. You're going to another country. You're going to feel discomfort of some sort. And I still feel that way to an extent. Not as strongly as when I first arrived.
Yeah, and how long have you been back now? Sorry to interrupt you.
The fourth expression we're going to talk about is I would say or I'd say. And this is kind of a filler expression that Americans love to use. And it just means probably. It's showing that this is your opinion.
Right.
I'd say that it's hot outside. Maybe everyone thinks it's hot outside, but you're just showing it's your opinion. Do you have anything to say about that?
I'd say I don't use this expression very much, except for right now.
Excellent.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a filler, like saying I think. I think maybe this. I'd say I like chocolate a lot. That kind of stuff.
Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
So my friends weren't even American, I would say. So I wasn't even getting some culture from my American friends.
Yeah, your culture.
The fifth expression we're going to talk about is to acclimate. Acclimate. And this simply means getting used to a new environment. So when we brought home our third kitten, we have 3 cats. So our final kitten, she had to acclimate and get used to living in our house. But the other cats had to acclimate to her because they were used to living their own lives and they had to get used to something new. So they had to acclimate to something new. Do you have anything for that?
Yeah, I'd say maybe a synonym could be adjust,
to
adjust. But yeah, to get used to. We'd probably say get used to more often than acclimate. That's not a super common word to use, but it's a nice complex word to use.
It's excellent.
If you want to sound interesting.
Yes, let's watch the clip.
You wanted to make friends that are from the
acclimate
country.
to the country and to the culture. And
The sixth expression that we're going to talk about is it takes a lot of guts.
Yeah.
And this simply means it takes courage to do something. And I want to give a little note about the pronunciation for this. Usually we mix this all together and we would say it takes a lot of guts, a lot of guts. So of a lot of guts becomes a lotta.
Yep.
It takes a lot of guts.
Or it took a lotta.
It took a lot of guts in the past. Yes. So was there any time in your life when you did something that took a lot of guts?
Oh yeah, all the time. Just to go back to travel, I'd say it took a lot of guts to travel to South Korea to teach English. We never went there. I never taught English. I never was a teacher. So it took a lot of guts to become an English teacher.
Yes, and you just used one of the other expressions we talked about. You
I
said,
did?
I'd say.
I'd say I said that. Oh no.
Wonderful. Well, that's great. We're mixing everything together. Let's watch the clip about it takes a lot of guts.
And that's really cool. I think it takes a lot of guts, though, because when you are the only person who's American or from your country in an area, maybe you'd be more likely to kind of seclude yourself or be like, I feel really uncomfortable talking to them. Do they want to talk to me?
The seventh expression we're going to talk about is the word awkward. Awkward. And it means weird or strange. So Dan's trying to show you now what it looks like to be awkward. Maybe doing socially unacceptable things. Maybe just an uncomfortable situation.
I'm very good at being awkward.
Well, you gave us a great example now. Excellent. Let's watch the clip about it.
Well, you could also...
Oh, yes. Go ahead first.
Yeah, you can also say that person is awkward. You can use that to describe somebody.
And what would that mean?
If you said he's awkward, that would mean a person you're uncomfortable with. Maybe he's even does weird things around you that you don't like sometimes even in a bad way. So if you said that about somebody, it's not a compliment.
Right. You don't want to call your friend awkward. You're awkward. That's usually socially strange.
Yeah, unconfident, I'd say.
Unconfident, that's another good way to say it.
Yeah.
So, awkward.
You walk and you fall down and stuff.
Yes.
That'd be awkward.
Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
Yeah, but they were very nice. So
Yeah.
I never felt that kind of awkward situation where maybe they don't want me here.
Yeah.
I felt very welcomed, and this is in South Korea.
The 8th expression we're going to talk about is to play an important role. And that means that you just have an important part in someone's life. So maybe you could say, my parents played an important role in helping me to become who I am today. They were really helpful in your life. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I'd say it probably comes from acting, playing a role in a play. If you say you played an important role, that would mean it's significant in the, it could even be for sports, right? He played an important role on his team, this kind of thing.
Right. So when the team won, he played an important role. He scored 3 goals, so he played an important role. Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
So
can you tell us a little bit about Tado? Because Teresa's husband also plays an important role, and I think this culture shock or acclimating to a new culture. So can you tell us about him? His name. The 9th expression we're going to talk about is to hash out something. Or you could put it in the middle and say to hash something out. And there's going to be another expression to rehash something that we'll talk about in just a moment. But let's talk about the main expression, to hash something out. And that means to talk about something, maybe to work something out, work through a problem. And if I said we need to hash something out, maybe if I said that to Dan, he would think, oh, is there some kind of problem? What do we need to talk about? Should we talk now? How serious is it?
We got to work it out.
Yeah, we need to work it out. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably another way to say work it out. If you said hash something out, I think you're talking in detail or maybe in a strong way about something to really, work it out, to solve a problem. Is kind of what I think of when I hear hash it out.
Excellent, excellent. And the other part of this expression is to rehash something. It's using the same base word, hash, but instead it's rehash, and re just means again. So you're doing something again. Maybe you're going through that problem again. You're working out the same problem again. So if maybe, for example, if Dan didn't do the laundry 3 months ago, he didn't do the laundry for a week, and I still remember that he didn't do the laundry, and now he didn't do the laundry either. I could say,
this never happens.
I could say, I don't want to rehash any bad memories from the past, but can you do the laundry? So this is bringing up something from the past and working out a problem in the present. So you're rehashing something, bringing it up again. Excellent. Let's watch these 2 clips.
I know he'll understand what I've been through because he's been through it too. And we can kind of hash it out together.
Yeah.
So that has helped a lot.
I think that makes sense. So what did you experience? Tell us about that first month, if you don't mind rehashing those.
Sure. I'm trying to think
days.
of some very good examples when I first arrived.
The 10th expression we're going to talk about is as time grew on. And it means over time or throughout time. Maybe when you first started to speak English, you didn't feel comfortable speaking, but as time grew on, you felt more comfortable because you started speaking more with your teacher, with your classmates. Over time, you felt better at speaking English.
Yeah. I'd say I don't say this too often. I usually say as time went on, but it's just another way to say, time passing by. You would say this in a conversation. You would say, a year ago, I felt really sad about the situation, but as time grew on, I felt better about my life.
Or as
Something
time
like that.
went on, I felt better about my life. So
Right.
both as time grew on and as time went on are perfectly acceptable.
Right.
Let's watch the clip.
But then as time grew on, I was getting more like, I really want to learn Spanish and like, let's speak Spanish together. And which is actually really hard, especially with a couple, with a pair, to be like, okay, we're going to speak only.
And change languages in the middle of your relationship.
Exactly.
The 11th expression that we're going to talk about is all around. And this means in every way, all around. So you might say, I had an all-around good dinner with my friend last night. In every way, it was nice. This is the simple explanation for this.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and obviously this is a term you can use in different ways. You could say all around the room is very clean. But in the way we mean here, it just means in all ways, in every way. So I had an all-around good time last night at the baseball game.
Yeah, we often say good afterwards. He's an all-around good guy in every way.
Right.
Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
I agree. I think it has to do something like that. All around, it's been great. So yeah.
And that's really cool that like the 12th expression that we're going to talk about is then again or but then again. And this just means on the other hand. So you can use it to mean something that's the opposite. So you could say, oh, I went on a good date last night. Not me, because I'm married, but
We could still go on a date.
we could go on a date together. You might say, I went on a good date last night, but then again, he said something that was really strange and I felt a little uncomfortable. But in general, it was still okay. So you could use that to mean the opposite, but then again, actually.
Yeah. You can also say on second thought as well, that you're just thinking further, right? So I went to the party last night and it was really great, but then again, I did stub my toe, hurt my foot, that kind of thing.
Excellent, excellent. Let's watch the clip.
And
That's
so
a
we
really
would
weird
speak in
feeling.
Spanish everywhere. But then again, also, there's a lot of people who speak Spanish, so it's not doesn't work all the time, but
Kind of an illusion.
You feel like you're speaking a secret language. Yeah.
The 13th expression that we're going to talk about is segue, a segue. And this simply means a transition. It's kind of a more formal word because usually when you have conversations with your friends, you don't know what you're going to talk about next. You don't really have a plan for the different topics you're going to talk about. But if you go on a TV show or if you are on the radio
Or in a class.
you probably have a set amount of topics or set things that you're going to talk about. So if there's a transition between those two things, that would be a segue. So in the video with Charisse, we were about to talk about reverse culture shock, and she mentioned it first before we started talking about it. So I said, oh, that's a great segue, because she jumped to the next topic first. She
Yeah.
made that transition.
Yeah, and sometimes we use this as a joke. Like, let's say somebody is saying, I'm really bored, and you said, well, good thing we're about to go to Disneyland.
Sure.
That person can say, nice segue.
Uh-huh.
So stuff like that can happen sometimes, but
Sure. You might hear that on
usually it's more formal.
You might hear that on TV shows. So you've got the joke version or you've got the more formal transition version. Great. Let's watch that clip.
And I think that's a good kind of segue to the next thing of like, when have you experienced reverse culture shock? So like coming back from the Argentina, Korea experience with the US. Like,
right.
did you experience any of that?
The 14th expression we're going to talk about is 24/7. And we often pronounce this 24. The T kind of gets dropped. We say 24/7. And that just means all the time. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All the time. Maybe you could say, I love watermelon so much, I could eat it 24/7. I could eat it nonstop. And that might be true for me. I love watermelon.
Right, yeah. This expression, some people use it to exaggerate things a lot. So if you asked your friend, how often do you play video games? And if he wanted to exaggerate, he'd say, I play 24/7, man, all the time.
Yes, all the time. Great. Let's watch the clip.
Argentinian transportation went longer.
All night. All day, 24/7.
Whoa.
So you didn't have to think, okay, I gotta go home now.
Yeah.
But
The 15th expression we're going to talk about is to open a lot of doors. And that means to have more opportunities. So you can imagine that your life is going through a new door, or you have a lot of options in front of you. So for example, getting a college degree. In the US, we say college. It's just university. Getting a college degree opens a lot of doors. You have more options for the type of job that you might want to get, ideally.
Or for us, because we went to South Korea, we saved a lot of money. So we could say, the money we saved opened a lot of doors for us to do what we want with our lives.
Excellent, yeah. Or you could say learning English opens a lot of doors because you can communicate with a lot of people around the world.
That's a good one.
You want to improve your English because you want to open a lot of doors in your life. Let's watch the clip.
and also, at least in Argentina, I understood what people were saying and I could communicate.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't my first language, at least I could communicate with people.
That makes a huge difference, though, like connecting with the culture.
Right.
If you can understand the language.
I know, it opened a lot of doors. So when I went to Korea, I felt very closed. I couldn't communicate with anyone. I didn't really know what was going on. There's a lot of cultural differences too.
The 16th word is social interaction. And I want you to notice that I pronounced this interaction. The T again gets dropped. It's not interaction. We say interaction. And that just means communicating with people. When you go to the post office or the grocery store, you have to have social interaction. You have to talk with people.
Yeah.
And that's part of life.
Yeah. People would often use this if they want to see people. They'd say, I need some social interaction. And another way I've heard this a lot is with children. So they would say, my child needs some social interaction because I want him to fit in with society and go to school. So he needs to go to school to get some social interaction. This would be a pretty common way to use that.
Yeah, talking about kids and getting along with other people. Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
I wasn't prepared for so much social interaction.
Like in English or
in
just...
English. I think that's what it was. Just there's so many people, and I kept feeling like people were listening to me or watching me strangely, because in Korea, people would look at me at least notice there's a foreigner.
Because you're not Korean.
Right.
The 17th expression is the word assume, and it simply means to guess something. If you don't know something, you could assume what's actually happening. So, for example, if your friend is late coming to your house, you don't really know why your friend is late, but you could say, oh, I assume it's because of traffic. Or I assume it's because her husband likes to take his time and go slowly when he's getting ready to go somewhere.
Who does that?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, this word has some negative connotations to it, I'd say. So a lot of times people use this in a negative way, right? So my teacher, and don't share this with your kids, would say to me, don't assume. If you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And if you look at the word, you can read that it's ASSUME, you and me. So it's a funny joke to remind you, don't assume, don't guess what people are doing, right? So if you see somebody and they look really sad and you think, oh, they're probably sad because they broke up with their boyfriend, something like that.
But you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, so you're assuming. So it usually is a negative thing, I'd say.
Right. I think the connotations of that are also that in a relationship, you should talk about it. You should communicate when there's problems. You shouldn't assume or guess what the problem is. So if my dad seemed kind of upset at me, I shouldn't ignore it or assume that he's upset at me because of something else. I should just talk to him and say, hey, why are you upset? What's happening? What's going on?
Right.
So I shouldn't assume. I should talk to him before I come to any conclusions. So you can assume. oh, I assume my friend's going to be late because they're in traffic. That's okay. Very neutral way to use it. But you could also have it in a negative way, talking about relationships. Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
So I guess I assumed that people were still doing that, although now I'm not standing out as a foreigner.
Yeah.
But I still felt like these eyes were watching me, and I felt really... it just was a strange moment of life.
Number 18 is to nitpick. To nitpick. And this means to get upset or to annoy someone about unimportant details.
Very annoying.
Yes, it's quite annoying. So, for example, if going back to the example I gave about Dan not doing the laundry, if Dan didn't do the laundry one day and then the next day he didn't do it, it's not a big deal. I have other clothes I can wear, but I might say, you never did the laundry. Why aren't you doing the laundry? I can't believe you're not doing the laundry. Your face. So this is nitpicking. It's not an important thing, but I feel annoyed about it.
Yeah.
And then he's going to feel annoyed about it too.
Yeah, it often has to do with looks as well, I think, right? So, why are you wearing your hair like that? Or do you have to wear blue today? You know, this kind of stuff.
Blue.
Yeah, blue. Ew. You know, that's nitpicking. Or if you clean the table and there's a little spot on the table and you're like, you missed a spot. That would be nitpicking.
That's terrible. When someone cleans the house and then another person says, oh, why is it dirty here? Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Nobody likes nitpickers.
nobody likes nitpickers. Don't be a nitpicker.
Don't do it.
And for the record, I was wearing this blue shirt before Dan wore his blue shirt.
I'm just a copycat.
Copycat. All right, let's watch the clip.
For me, it's like nitpicking small things about American culture, because that's like our home culture, that I didn't nitpick about before. Like,
Number 19 is to be pissed off. And just to let you know, this is American slang that means to be angry. And it's not a bad word, but I don't recommend using it at work. It could be a little bit uncomfortable around people who you don't know very well too. So I recommend just using this around friends. Personally, I use this to talk about strong emotions. So sometimes you don't want to say a bad word, but you want to say something else. So this is, I think, an in-between word.
Yeah.
It's
Not quite a bad word.
not a bad word, but it's not a simple word. So an example might be when I was watching the soccer game and the referee made a bad call for my team, I was so pissed off. I couldn't believe that my team got a bad call. I think that's a pretty good example
Right.
of using that pissed off. I was angry.
Yeah. But I would say you don't always use it in frivolous times either. Like if you're really angry with somebody, you would say, I'm pissed at you, right? Pissed with a T, right? So
pissed.
I was really pissed off at this person, you know? So it can be really strong, but it can also be, you know, just depends on how you say it, how serious it is.
Right, right. So to explain a little bit about the word that Dan used, frivolous. Frivolous, because this is a vocabulary video, frivolous means unimportant situation. So even though sports are fun, it's not the most important thing in the world. So this would be a frivolous situation, but maybe in your relationship or with your friends, you were pissed at him or you were pissed at someone.
Right.
That could be serious. So we could use it in both those situations. Let's watch the clip.
like comparing it to good things from the culture that I came from, and being like, "Ah, why is my culture like this? Ah, I'm like so
Right.
pissed off about it.
Right, and you realize, well, they don't know that maybe it's better to bring your own bag, bring a little cart, like
Yeah.
and it just
Number 20 is to be neither here nor there. And that just means it doesn't matter. Where do you want to eat tonight? Do you want to go to the Italian place or Japanese place? Well, neither here nor there. You can cut it and just say neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there to me.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You could also say it if something is irrelevant or
Unimportant.
Yeah, unimportant to the topic. that you're talking about. So if you were saying, I need to study really hard for my test, and you were like, what do you want for dinner?
Oh, it's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there.
I need to study.
Yeah, so that's one way to use it.
Excellent. Let's watch the clip.
I mean, this, in a way, it's neither here nor there, but it's one of those things that when you come back to your own culture and see that, you can feel overwhelmed. And I think that's like a sign of reverse culture shock, is being overwhelmed by something you thought would be normal.
Number 21 is to ease something. Usually we say to ease my mind because it makes you feel more comfortable. And that just means, to make you feel comfortable, to make something easier. So you might say, when I was traveling to a foreign country, I didn't know how to communicate with people. So I bought a guidebook that had some translations. And that eased my mind because I wasn't nervous anymore to meet new people or to ask for directions because I had this guidebook. The guidebook helped to ease my mind.
Right. Yeah, when I think of this word, I think of slowing down a little bit to make something easier. And you can also say, I eased into it. So slow down into this, don't rush. So I eased into my homework. So you didn't just rush and do it. You slowly took your time and made it easier for yourself.
Yeah, I eased into my homework. My mom helped to ease my mind because she gave me some advice about my homework.
Right.
Great ways. Let's watch the clip.
There are certain things you can do to prepare for it. I don't think you can completely avoid it, but at least know that these things are going to be issues for me. So what can I do to ease the difficulty? For example, public transportation.
Number 22 is to face something. And this means you're going to be challenged by something. You're going to encounter something that's difficult. So maybe if you start a new job, you're probably going to face a lot of challenges because you're going to have new responsibilities. You're going to have to get along with new coworkers or your boss. You're going to be faced with a lot of things. You're going to face difficult situations.
Yeah, this is a good expression. It's about being brave or confident, I think. Some people say face your fears. So you got to challenge yourself, right? So you look right at it and you do it, right? So face the situation.
Yes, conquer it. Great, let's watch the clip.
Face English.
So I'm still going to have to drive. I'm still going to have to kind of face this difficulty, you could say.
Yeah, like you're still gonna have to do something you don't want to do.
Right, I'm not comfortable or used to doing.
Yeah.
Number 23 is roots. And if you can imagine a plant growing above the ground, under the ground, there are roots. This is the base of the plant. So that's a similar idea, but when talking about people. So you could say your origin or your source is in a certain place. So my family originally 80, 100 years ago was from Italy. And so I could say my roots are in Italy. I have Italian roots. I'm not 100% Italian, but I have Italian roots. That's a way you could use it.
Right. I think usually when people talk about it, they mean, where were you born, I think. And so you would ask, where are your roots? And so my roots are in California. That's where I was born. But I didn't really grow up there. So I would also say, I think of my roots being in Colorado, another place I spent a lot of my childhood. So it's a pretty flexible term.
And I think this is a good question that someone might ask you if you've been living in the US, for example, for a long time, and you met someone new for the first time. They might ask you, where are you from? But they might ask you, where are your roots? And this could mean, where did your parents come from? If you were born in the US maybe, or where are you originally from? So this is a kind of alternative question to this. Let's watch the clip.
Like most people have lived in several places, and even for us, we lived in the north and then the south, and we have like roots in both places.
Yeah, so I feel like it's hard to come back and feel super connected immediately.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
Number 24 is our final expression for the conversation video with my sister Charisse, and this expression is to be snippy. Snippy. This is also something that we use to talk about with scissors. So scissors cut something, but scissors also snip something. So if you can imagine a feeling, an emotion that's like this, it's kind of like you're angry, easily angry.
Yeah.
Your words are cutting the other person. You're kind of snipping all the time.
Yeah, and this is something you would probably say to somebody, right? Like, stop being snippy. Or why are you so snippy?
Yes.
Right? So if somebody is being angry and you don't know why, they just seem like randomly angry, you would say, geez, you're really snippy.
Why are you snippy today?
Yeah.
And in your relationships, be careful saying this. The other person might not respond very well because
Especially if they're snippy.
if they're being snippy, then they might snip again and say, I'm not snippy, you're
Right.
snippy.
You're the snippy one.
Yes, so you can also say it about yourself and say, I'm sorry, I was really snippy today. I shouldn't have been so easily angered today. I should have been more patient. So sorry, I was snippy.
Or you could say, I can get snippy when I'm hungry.
Oh, yes, I know someone.
My
who
mother is like that.
I know someone who can get like that. Yeah, so maybe when you're really hungry, you can get easily angry.
Yeah.
You could say, yeah, I get snippy when I'm hungry. Excellent example for that. Let's watch the clip.
Like if I was like mad at or like upset at Dan about something, I'd be like, wait, this is probably just because I'm adjusting. I shouldn't get like frustrated or snippy about little things because I'm adjusting. So sorry to put this on you.
Yeah. At least you realize it.
Yeah, and you know you're not perfect, but I think that's something that just like being aware of it is.
Thanks so much for watching this vocabulary video with my husband Dan and I explaining some natural expressions that were used in the conversation between my sister and I, Charisse. So if you haven't seen the conversation lesson, I recommend doing it. Watch the conversation lesson, the grammar lesson, this is the vocabulary lesson, and also the pronunciation lesson to get the full set. And if you'd like lesson sets like this every month that you can download, join our wonderful community at the Fearless Fluency Club. You can join by clicking a link here, that little I, or in the description below. I'd love to have you be a part of our community. It's a great place where you can become a fearless, fluent speaker with other members and also with my help. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Goodbye.